President Obama has decided 6 months after bombing ISIS that he would like to declare war. A little late to the party, but nice that you showed up in your top hat. Basically asking Congress in a letter he just wrote to them, I do declare war. So let's explain what's in this. It's a retroactive request. Congress is receiving the document 6 months after the U.S. began bombing the Islamic State group. It's not really how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to ask permission first. We've lost track of that. Republican presidents, Democratic presidents, all presidents in my lifetime, ask Congress for war, the Constitution, who cares about that, right? Afterwards, though, I'd like you to share in the political liability if this thing goes south, and hence go ahead and authorize it. Now, I want them to authorize it, meaning that I want them to vote on it either way, because they should. Better late than never, but barely better. Okay, so what's in this proposal? The proposed AUMF, that's the new authorization, would limit military action against the Islamic State to 3 years and allow limited use of the U.S. ground troops for things like rescue operations or intelligence sharing. Now, Republicans don't like this because they want to be able to use more ground troops for more activities. But hold, because I'm going to explain at the end how vague that is and how in reality we could use ground troops for almost anything. Okay, now, more of what's in the proposal. It would put no geographic limitations on the military campaign. Instead, it would limit military action to countering the Islamic State and associated forces. Okay, great. Now, he's asking for authorization to fight ISIS, but he's saying, I'm not going to limit it to where they are, Iraq and Syria. Now, there's a good reason for that. He said, well, maybe they go into Saudi Arabia, maybe they go into Jordan, maybe they go into other places. I need to go fight them there. Plus, you give me blanket authorization for 3 years to fight ISIS, and I could really bomb anywhere I like in the world. That's a little broader than I would like, to say the least. Okay. It would also repeal a 2002 Iraq War authorization that never expired. Well, that's good. But it would leave in place the broad 2001 authorization. The new authorization would sunset in 3 years. So the 2001 one was also fairly broad. So he gets 2 broad authorizations for the price of 1. At least they get rid of the Iraq one. Okay, so it has its ups and it has its downs. The upside is that he's actually asking Congress, which is a good step forward, belated as it is. And he's trying to limit it in some ways to 3 years and kind of no ground troops, but that's the biggest kind of you've ever heard, because that leads us to the downside. All right, it turns out when you look further, it says U.S. ground troops can't be used in, quote, enduring offensive ground combat operations. So obviously the 2 critical words there is enduring. I mean, can we use combat troops on the ground for a week? Is that enduring? A month? Is that enduring? In Afghanistan, we were there for over a dozen years. We didn't call that enduring. We just kept going and going and going, right? And, oh, we can't use them in offensive ground combat, but they're going to claim every single operation is defensive. It's not like they're like, hey, you know what, we got these great ground troops, let's go invade Kuwait. They're not going to do that. They're saying we're defending Iraq, we're defending Syria against ISIS, so we're allowed to use ground troops. So in the end, just a flat old, incredibly vague war authorization that will give him the ability to bomb and conduct war in almost any theater, in almost any way that he pleases. Congress is the one that pushed him into the war in the first place, so they're likely to give him this authorization, and off we go to more and more war. I'm glad we got that change he promised us, though. He ended the Iraq War before starting the new Iraq and Syria war. Great change.